Well, how was your week?
It was good. I'm
Yeah.
glad it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And that finals are Monday. And then I'm done for the semester.
That's awesome.
So there was a lot of, Thanksgiving was great. My parents were in town.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a wonderful time together. Caroline, bless her heart, was sick the whole time.
I know.
But in spite of that, we made our best efforts to have a good time at home.
Yes.
And then the following week, school was...
Well, let's hold up right there on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
What did you cook for Thanksgiving?
Beef tenderloin.
Big old beef tenderloin.
A 4-pound beef tenderloin. We wanted leftovers for a while.
Oh my gosh. So it was 4 adults and Caroline.
Yes.
And it was probably some of the best steak
It really was.
I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
It-
Like the perfect medium.
Yes. It was perfect medium, but yet still so soft you could cut it with your fork.
Yeah. We didn't need a knife.
Yeah. We didn't go crazy this Thanksgiving like we've done in the past where it was like, 6 or 7 dishes and 2 or 3 desserts. I mean, it was pretty straight. It was just like a really nice meal.
Yes. Well, especially considering I just don't want turkey because when we go back to Tennessee, your mom will fix turkey.
That's true.
So I didn't want double the turkey. So I was like, what's the next best thing?
Oh, well, you
Beef
just cut to
tenderloin.
the chase. Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot beat.
So we had
tenderloin.
mashed potatoes and gravy. And then I made homemade green bean casserole.
Oh, that green bean casserole was so good.
Everything was from scratch. Cooked
Yes.
the green beans,
Mm-hmm.
made the cream of mushroom soup.
Sauce, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm hungry now.
It was delicious.
I want to eat it again.
I ate a lot tonight, so I'm not hungry.
You're
now.
not hungry?
No, but I
Okay.
have chocolate. So
you're
I'll have
happy.
chocolate later.
Oh, goodness. So,
But it was good. Overall, it was a great time.
It was
We put up the Christmas tree
Mm-hmm.
and we did gingerbread houses.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a good little celebration, good little time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I edited like crazy until it was time to eat pretty much.
Yeah, you worked basically the whole time.
Just trying to get caught up. Almost there, though.
Yeah.
Getting a good schedule set up.
Mm-hmm. How was your week?
Well, my week was pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
After that Thanksgiving dinner, I finally took my window and went on a solo run up to the Guadalupes in Lincoln National Forest.
Yeah, you just packed up and left us.
I
High and dry on Black Friday, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not that I was going anywhere, but
No, but oh my gosh, I needed that so bad to really just go and sit in front of a campfire,
right.
and only do what I want to do, only shoot what I want to shoot. That was what I needed, and
it was pretty productive, yeah.
it was, and I was torn. Like, do I go up there and like film like crazy because I knew I was getting to the point where I needed to tell another piece of a story. But I really do enjoy this. I really do enjoy the camera work and sharing the story and showing off all the wilderness areas here in New Mexico. So that wasn't stressful. Like, that was almost, me, if I was to sit there and do absolutely nothing, I would probably get myself worked up.
You don't know how to do absolutely nothing.
I don't.
I do.
I really don't.
I'm really good at it.
It's really funny because I did some like time lapses of me sitting around the campfire. And
you probably didn't sit still for more than, it's probably like sit, ding, sit, ding,
I was editing that piece tonight and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, you need to just chill out, sit down for a while. But I enjoy it. I like it. I like, I was doing some night photography, just getting
You
all
didn't have
different
me
angles.
asking, when are we going to bed?
Right. So yeah, it was a good run, and I got a lot of really cool content. I got to talk about some really cool products, which I don't typically do a lot of.
Right.
So, I'm waiting for those comments.
And you, did you get to open something special while you were up there?
You know what? I did not.
You didn't.
So I got up there and I have a package from YouTube, and they send it out to people when they get 100,000 subscribers. And I didn't feel right opening it without you and Caroline there.
Oh, that's nice.
Because, it's us.
Yeah.
So I know we've already almost got 125,000 followers or subscribers, but I wanted to wait until we could actually go up there and do it together.
Sure.
So
That's so nice of you.
that is what it is.
Okay.
I didn't feel right because it's as much yours as it is mine. So anyhow, that was great. that was really good time up there in the Guadalupes.
Good.
So anyhow, I think now's a good time to get on to our main topic. But first, we need to stoke this campfire because it's gotten really low. And so let's throw a few logs on it there. Yeah, there you go. Nope, not right there. Over there. There you go. Much better.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's feeling pretty good. Oh, there were so many people who enjoyed the campfire.
I'm amazed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There are millions and millions of podcasts out there. We might have the only campfire. That's what sets us apart, babe.
All right.
So you just keep stoking that fire.
I'm on it.
Yeah. Watch that smoke.
Ooh. I hate when it gets in my face.
Oh, Lord. Oh, anyhow, tonight we are talking about our overland kit evolution.
Yeah.
What that means is what we started with, what we changed, and where we are now, and why. And lots of funny little stories in between about different products and stuff that we're using or no longer use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Totally ready for this.
Totally ready for this. All right. So, obviously, started with our 2014 Toyota 4Runner that we bought brand new down in Odessa, Texas. We did not want a 4Runner at the time.
No, we wanted an FJ.
Yeah, we already kind of talked about this in episode 1, but we were almost devastated that we could not make a car seat work in the FJ Cruiser because that was the cool car. That's what we really, really wanted.
That was it at the time.
Yeah, and it, mostly because of all the traction control functions and rear locker and stuff like that. Like we knew functionally, not just looks wise, but functionally it was what we were after. But it just wasn't in the cards.
No.
It just wasn't in the cards. And so we got in the 4Runner and literally a mile down the road.
Yeah, just fell in love.
It was like, oh, dude, okay. Yeah, and it has all these things. Sign us up. Just lay those papers down. Let's do this. And so we didn't waste any time. The next weekend, we were up in Guadalupes putting scratches down the side of this brand new.
Yeah, absolutely
4Runner.
stock.
Yeah. We knew, that's what we bought it for.
Yeah.
And so we just knew that was going to be a part of life.
Yep.
And so might as well just jump in. And we did. First trip out, those poor little Dunlop factory tires were so crappy. And we pinched one. It didn't blow out, but we put a pretty good gash in the side of it. And it had a slow leak at that point. So the next morning, we were in front of Discount Tire when they opened. So there was some KOs on this puppy. And that was the beginning at that point. So what was your initial impressions of the 4Runner? Once we got it home and took it on the first trip, what did you like about it?
Well, really truthfully, that was my very first trip ever. Because I did not go on any of the dude trips that you went on.
That's true.
So that was the because you had gone even a couple times in the trippy without me and Caroline.
That's true.
So when we got the 4Runner, that was, I think we just did what, a day trip, or was it actually a camping trip?
No, that was Caroline's first camping trip.
Okay.
We bought a Coleman 2-room dome tent off of Amazon.
Right.
And we had just a basic air mattress.
Just a little queen.
And Caroline had her pack and play. And so we put her on her side. And golly, remember how loud that pack and play was, though?
Oh, every time she rolled over.
Sounded like we had a rat captive.
Pretty sure that's what kept her awake.
Oh, that's true.
And so then the second night we ended up just putting her in bed with us.
Yeah, it made a big difference.
Big difference.
But she had a blast.
She did.
Those photos from that trip are just perfect.
But she was happiest outside.
She's always been an outside baby.
Like as a newborn. The second you took her outside, her whole body just chilled. So with all that being said, I did not know the capabilities of the vehicle and what it could and couldn't do. Things that I would look at now and just carry on as just a trail.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to fall down in that ditch and then we're never going to get out and our car's going to be stuck here. I guess I could say I was impressed, but yet I didn't know what it could and couldn't do.
We were definitely nervous about things that today we would not even
Bat
notice.
an eyelash at. Yeah.
Especially like, when you first start out, when you get off camber,
Mm-hmm.
when that vehicle leans just a little bit, you think, oh my gosh, this thing is going over. Because when you're driving on roads and stuff, you never subject it to
Right.
those types of angles.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the one thing that always gave me pucker factor was, when we would start to get an off-camber situation like that. But now I think my level of confidence is so high, I could possibly roll the vehicle because I've gotten so comfortable with it.
I think the thing that made me the most uncomfortable when we started was when it would be like a 2-track, and there'd be the washout in the center. I was always paranoid that the wheel was going to slip.
Yeah.
Down into it.
And we had quite a few of those that we went. And that was actually one of the things that we went over that first trip.
I know, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. Because I remember
Yeah.
being like having to get out and spot you. And
yeah, there was
then
like a 3-foot ditch.
a friend came over and had to finish spotting you. And now I watch it and I'm like, I didn't even need to get out of the car.
No. So, but that's all part of the learning experience. And it's okay. I mean, especially if you're new, don't be afraid to get out and double check and look. Don't think that you have to be Mr. Cool and everything. Definitely ask questions if you're with people, and don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's totally okay. We all went through it. We all did it. So one of the thoughts that I just had, especially on that first trip when we were traveling up there, we have a little bit of video, and the 4Runner is absolutely jam packed. Like you couldn't hardly even see Caroline sometimes with
Granted, that's how it looked on our Alaska trip 80% of the time.
Well, but that was from disorganization.
That was daily life.
Yeah, well, that was living out of your car, not going up for a weekend.
True.
But we literally packed everything, including the kitchen sink, it felt like, inside the 4Runner. So I think that maybe the second or third trip is when we were like, hey, let's get a roof rack on this thing.
Oh, I guess that's true, huh?
And move some of our luggage out of the vehicle.
But then we almost just treated it like, now we have more space for more things.
Oh, we did, pretty much. Let's talk about those first few camping trips that we went in the 4Runner. What was one of the things that you disliked the most? What was it that you had the roughest time doing?
Like just camping wise or packing in the vehicle
No,
wise?
I'm talking about camping itself.
Oh, going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have a hard time doing it outside.
Not anymore.
Well, you used to.
I did. I couldn't even go pee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Because I didn't know how to actually squat and pee.
Okay. We're getting real here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you would always try and find like a tree
to lean up against or like hold on to. Or
it was the most awkward.
It was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. I remember one time we were on an elk hunt. Remember what I built you?
Oh, yeah. A rock throne. That's the original Game of Thrones. The hunting throne.
I literally built her a stone toilet.
And I had a great view.
There was a great view.
Yeah.
There was a limb nearby where we placed the toilet paper. There was kind of a half shrouding of small spruces.
Nice little hedge.
So you had a bit of privacy, and then an
Yeah.
epic view looking down to Carrizozo, New Mexico. Yeah.
It was great. And I feel like the next year we went up there, it was still there.
I think so. I think that people have recognized its value, and it's definitely
probably utilized
stood the test of time. Yeah.
But yeah, going to the bathroom was probably the hardest part for me.
So what was the next step? What did we do to fix that?
We did a 5-gallon bucket with a little like snap-on toilet seat.
The luggable loo.
Yeah. And that helped.
It worked. I'm trying to remember, did we cut the bottom of the bucket out, or no, we started using, you know what we did? We took kitty litter and trash bags. Y'all.
That was dumb.
Kitty litter does not work for people crap.
Well, we also bought cheap kitty litter. Had we bought the nowadays new lightweight stuff?
Steppin' Fresh or something?
No, the lightweight
Scratch and
ones.
Sniff.
Listen.
Oh.
I said lightweight. Like clumping factor, lightweight. It would have been fine.
It was
ish.
It was miserable.
It really was bad.
Yeah, I don't know what we were thinking. And then it was heavy to like get back to That was a fail.
Right. And then the whole privacy factor. Like, was I really hidden behind a tree?
Right.
Could anyone see me straining?
Right.
Like,
and let me tell y'all, for guys, sitting on a 5-gallon bucket with one of those things is not really, it's not there.
not comfortable,
It's
huh?
not big enough.
Okay.
It's not, the circumference isn't there.
So anyways,
Well, and do you remember Caroline was trying to use it as well? And because it was a bucket, unless it was perfectly level ground.
I felt like that was like a whole year later.
Maybe
Because
so.
she was only 15 months when we started, and she was still diapers. So we were still packing.
Packing diapers
diapers
and wipes and all that
Yeah.
stuff too.
Yeah.
Golly.
I know. Because I didn't
Crazy
potty
times.
train her till after she was 2.
But then I finally got you something that changed the game. Do you remember that?
The Browning privacy tent.
That's right.
Yeah.
So guys, let me tell this story. I knew she had a hard time doing it outdoors. And so I had done some
Going
research.
to the bathroom, that is.
Well, now people are in a totally different place. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry, it just sounded iffy. And then
Okay.
I just made it worse.
You
so.
just, slam dunk. Anyhow, so I researched and came up with this privacy tent. Well, the problem was we had some friends that had a pop-up privacy tent, but literally it was not
4
viable.
feet tall?
It felt like it was 4 feet tall. You might as well wear it on your head.
Yeah.
And so I came up with the Browning, and the Browning it's actually 5.5 by 5.5 at the base. And then it stood like 7 foot tall. So that meant that you could hang a shower bag from the top of it and still get a shower underneath. And so I believe it was our anniversary.
Yeah.
We went up to Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Because we still had the tent then.
And we found this little camping spot. And I went over and I set up this privacy tent. And it was all staked to perfection, nice and tight. And I set we had moved to the rest stop system at that point.
But we still had the 5-gallon bucket,
It
though.
was still a 5-gallon
but
bucket.
we had the bags.
And we were using the rest stop bags. And we put those in there and had our breakfast. Sarah had her coffee. And we all know what happens after Sarah has her coffee. So I was watching out the corner of my eye. She made her way over to the privacy tent. I thought, all right, this is going to...
Cautiously checked it out.
She kind of, sniffed at the base a little bit, scratched it.
You make it sound like you're trapping an animal or something. She slowly made her way over to the tent where it was perfectly staked and ready.
And so she unzips it. She walks inside. Yeah, you can do the sound effects. I'll continue the story. And zips it back down. And
Just kidding, I'll stop now.
and so there's silence, obviously, for a few minutes. I'm just sitting there drinking my coffee in my camp chair. And then I hear, Kevin, yeah, babe, you've changed camping for me. And I think at that moment, that's when I knew we were going to sell everything and travel full time.
No, you didn't. That is baloney sauce.
But I knew I loved you more at that point.
No.
Yeah. But that was really like...
I knew I loved you more too.
But here's the thing. And we talked about this last time, where everyone has a terrible camping experience. A lot of people have a terrible camping experience that either made it very difficult to get back into it, or they refuse to go camping because of... There are a lot of incredible products on the market now that change the game. They literally change the game. You don't have to be uncomfortable. You don't have to be surrounded by bugs. You don't have to be pooping in a hole. I mean, there are a lot of things out there to make this an enjoyable experience. And I think that was one of the moments that I realized, how do I want to say this? It's not about the gear. But if the gear gets you there, get the gear.
Especially with the people you want to do this with.
That's it. I mean, I can go literally with a one-man pup tent, beanies and weenies, hot dogs, a sleeping bag. I mean, like I could go and have an awesome time just in those few things. Yes, that's all you quote-unquote need. We get in this discussion about needs.
Yeah.
And it's not about a need. It is a want, and we recognize that. But if these things, these advanced creature comforts get your entire family out there having a great time together, and you go back Sunday afternoon after you've had a long weekend of adventure, and you're rested, and you're not stressed, and you're not covered in bug bites, get the gear.
You're not constipated. I mean,
right. But at the same time, you have to have a balance.
Yeah.
So keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we talk about all these different products and this evolution of what we did, don't get overwhelmed and say, oh, I need all those things, or
I don't have the money
I
to
can't
do that.
afford to do those things. Yeah. We get that. It's about taking a staged, step-by-step process to get you there. Focus on your priorities. Focus on the things that make you the most comfortable, give you the biggest bang for your buck, but don't get overwhelmed by what we talk about. Having a capable vehicle with good tires is your step one for becoming an overlander, quote unquote. Call it what you will.
Right. And
then you get out there and you go. So I just want to throw that out there before we get too deep into like talking about these products and stuff.
Sure. Because a lot of people have commented on our videos or other people's videos or Instagram posts that as an overlander, they've been oversold to. Yeah.
Or it's over-commercialized.
Over-commercialized now.
I mean, there's a whole discussion to be had on that as well. Yeah. Number one, and the short answer is camping is over-commercialized.
Oh, sure. And everybody does it so many different ways.
And the bigger picture is America is over-commercialized and oversold too.
Right.
But you know what? If it wasn't for these people marketing those products, we wouldn't know about it.
Right.
And if there weren't so many choices, we would be frustrated because there weren't enough choices.
There weren't more options, yeah.
So I look at it and I say, and I've been on the other side where we were building our kit, and I felt overwhelmed, and I felt like I couldn't afford the things that we wanted. But you take it one step at a time and appreciate the fact that you have so many things to choose from, and more every day at different price ranges. So I get the argument, but personally, I'm thankful that we have a lot of options.
And price points.
And price points. It irritates me a little bit when people complain about being over marketed to or oversold to or feeling overwhelmed with all the different options that are out there.
Sure. So with that being said, let us tell you what we used.
Yeah.
So when we first started, we decided that we would ground tent.
Yeah.
And like we said before, we had a Coleman 2-room 10-person tent because we thought we needed that much room.
It was nice having that much room.
Yes.
It really was. Because if it was bad weather, it was a lot of room for us to play games. Caroline could run around. I mean, that was really the big part about it. Now, it was a booger to set up.
It was and it wasn't. There weren't that many poles.
Yeah. But if I go back to bad weather, if it was wet.
Yeah, if it was inclement weather.
You knew you were going to have to take it home, and you have to open it back up and set it back up and dry it out and get the mud off of it.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a hassle.
Mm-hmm. So we slept out of that. We had a queen mattress. Mm-hmm. And there was a time I recall, I think it was Caroline's birthday adventure weekend for her second birthday. Yep. Something got forgotten. Do you remember what it was?
Seems like, it was I know what it was.
What was it, Kev?
I don't want to say the words.
Just tell everybody what it was.
I forgot the air mattress, okay?
You did.
I forgot the air mattress. I'm sorry.
And this was
I told you this. I'm sorry.
2-night trip? 3-night trip?
Yeah, it's probably a 3-night trip.
So we get to our destination, our first destination. Uh-huh. And it actually ended up, sadly enough, being pretty rocky. It
was hard as a brick because it had not rained in months.
Yeah.
It was so tough.
So we set up the tent. We set up, because it was close to dinner. Uh-huh. And we set up the table and we're going to start cooking. And Kev's hunting around the car, going in the tent, hunting around the car, going in the tent. He's not saying anything. No. I'm like, what is the deal? And he like sticks his head out the tent. And he's like, I think I forgot the mattress. Yeah. I was like, oh, wow. Like, I just wanted to pack up and leave.
I think you were ready to go home at that point.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, we'll just suffer through it. We'll just
for one night.
Figure it out. And so we literally
suffered through it for one night.
In the bottom of that tent, guys. And it was flat ground. Don't get me wrong. But
it was also
so
cool
hard.
that night.
And
so we couldn't put that much underneath us for padding because we really needed it on top of us to keep warm.
We got so cold. So cold.
So what did we do the next night? Remember?
Did we get a hotel?
We did.
Oh, that's right.
We went down into Alamogordo to see the zoo.
I forgot about this.
And then I told you, I am not sleeping on the ground again.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. That was miserable.
It was bad.
We didn't sleep much that night.
No.
Yeah.
But we got the cutest family picture. Like, to this date, is probably one of the best family pictures ever.
That's true.
From that morning.
That's true. No one knows how close we were to divorce at that point.
I don't know why you keep saying that.
Because it's funny. It's a good story.
Yeah, but I just don't like the D word.
You don't like the D word?
No.
I'm sorry.
I forgive you. So, needless to say, if you do an air mattress, don't forget it.
Well, you know what I got after that to make it up to you?
The giant king mattress.
Y'all.
That thing was, it basically took up the whole half of the tent.
It stuck out into the second room.
Well, and the reason we got it too was Caroline was too big for the pack and play.
Yeah.
And half the time anyway, she ended up sleeping with us, not in the pack and play.
Right. So we were like, why are we being so miserable? Let's get something where we can
all fit on there.
Right. And dude, let me tell you, this thing was awesome.
That was legit glamping at that point. Because you didn't even have to like get down on your hands and knees to get in the bed.
Well, here's the thing. Like, it wasn't your typical air mattress. This thing stood like 42 inches tall. It was gargantuan. I didn't realize how big it was when I ordered it. But it was 120 volt. Thankfully, though, there was an inverter in the Forerunner. And so we'd crank up the Forerunner and plug it in. And like 20 minutes later, you could just...
Was it that long?
No, I'm exaggerating. But you can watch the sides of the tent start to swell as it like boated out.
Hey, we slept good though.
Dude, that thing was awesome. It really was
awesome. And it
awesome.
even had like a little backs like...
Oh yeah, so your pillows don't fall off the back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because you know, like when you sleep in a tent, your pillow always gets up against the wall. And then the condensation gets wet and it's just miserable. Like, no more. That fixed it.
That fixed it.
So
that was nice.
So that's another piece of gear that changed the game.
And then what did we cook on? Did we have a little grill? I don't even remember.
No, we had the
little Coleman grill.
We had the Coleman travel set, the little Coleman grill, and so you could cook on the grates. Remember, it also had like a big griddle that you could put on there as well. And that thing worked really, really good.
It did. It was great.
It really did. So once we got our roof rack, we bought a Goby rack. And then like 4 years later, it finally showed up. Oh, it'll be ready in 4 weeks. 14 weeks later, it showed up. And it was worth it, y'all. People ask me, what do you think about the Goby rack? I absolutely love it. But when you order a Goby rack, you just order it and you forget about it.
And then be pleasantly surprised when it does show up.
And then it's like Christmas when it shows up because I understand that they've, I think that they have a little bit better turnaround time now.
Oh, good for them.
But as far as quality is concerned, it's legit.
Yeah.
And it's been through a lot with us.
Stood the test of time with us.
So yeah, we started running that stuff up on the roof rack at that point and carrying our grill around. And like you were saying, once we got room, we started carrying more stuff with us that we didn't necessarily need, or stuff that was oversized for what we needed.
Right.
We didn't need that massive thing. We could have definitely downsized into a cook stove or something like that.
But I liked that we had it instead of the cook stove because we kind of went back and forth. But I was like, but what if we want to grill burgers or steak?
We were big grillers at the time.
Yeah, and so I could really just put my little pots and pans on top of the grill, the grates, and still cook just the same as if it was on a tiny Coleman cooktop.
If you have the space, it's a great option.
It was probably the best option at the time for us.
It was a great setup.
So, along with wanting a privacy tent to go to the loo, and all, do you remember once I started getting comfortable, maybe by the second or third, maybe fourth trip, what I requested next? Do you remember?
I think you were getting tired of washing dishes with cold water
Yes.
and not being able to have a shower.
Yeah, the shower, but I have always washed my face before bed.
That's true.
And no one likes to wash their face with cold water. So I would literally warm up water on our cook stove.
You're right. I remember that.
Just to wash my face.
Mm-hmm.
And also to do dishes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need to figure something out.
Yeah.
This is too long. It's getting old.
Right.
And eventually we want to take longer than 2-day trips. We need a shower.
Uh-huh.
So what was the cute little red contraption you found?
The Zodi.
Yes.
The Zodi water heater. And it was really, it was okay. So the trick was we bought these things called water bricks, and they're 3.5 gallon. They look like concrete blocks. They're the shape of a concrete block, but they interlock. And
Yeah.
I think we bought 4 of them. We would take those water bricks and that Zodi heater and, it would plug into a 1 pound propane tank, and then it would like sit in its little base, which was a little bit iffy if it was going to stay or not. That was my one complaint about it, is it wasn't very stable. But the beauty of it is you could take it, and if your water was super cold, you could stick the shower hose back in and just kind of recycle the water until it got up to the temperature that you wanted, and take a nice hot shower. It would run for about, you could get about a 6-minute shower out of a 3.5 gallon water brick.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really, really nice. Or you could wash three sets of dishes out of
And
one.
you just
one
found
brick.
that on Amazon, yeah?
Yeah, it was on Amazon.
Yeah.
I actually have a new one. I actually have another one that I bought when we outfitted the Forerunner.
That's right. When we were planning on doing that.
Yeah, to go with my brother Caleb on the East Tennessee Overlanders run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a much more stable base. So they've come a long way. But yeah, the Zodi, Z-O-D-I water heater was probably one of our best investments, because y'all, washing greasy dishes with cold water, it doesn't work.
No.
You can throw as much Dawn at it as you want, and it doesn't break down to get a little bit of heat to it.
Right.
So yeah, that was one of our favorite purchases at that point.
So essentially that was our first overlanding kit.
Yeah, that probably set us, having the roof rack, having the tent, having the mattress, having the privacy tent, having the water heater, that basic setup, that was good.
Yeah,
That's
good for 2.
That did what we needed.
3 days pushing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was really the best camping kit that we had. And we ran that way for a couple of years, didn't we?
We added something.
Oh, there's something else.
Yeah. So we probably ran like that for maybe a camping season.
Okay.
And then I told you, Kev, I'm done with sloshy, icy, wet lunch meat.
Yeah.
Meat juice.
Yes. Nasty coolers. And it got so annoying on the trail where it was like whoosh, 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 back and forth.
Yes.
And it didn't take long to do that either.
No. Especially in our temperature.
Yeah.
So I told you needed to find a solution for that.
Yeah. Well, and everyone was running those, the Yetis. That's when Yetis were just huge. And so
huge.
I just figured, okay, I'll buy one of those. Because, remember Billy and Trina, they bought one and they liked it.
Yeah.
And
they even had a mini one that they put in their car.
Yeah. So I was at his house one day and I was like, well, let me see that thing. And I went to pick it up. I'm like, good Lord.
And it had nothing in it.
It was huge. And then when you open it up, you had like 4.5 inches of sidewall that was just insulation. And I thought, my goodness, that's
a waste of space.
Well, yeah, it's not a waste, but like you got to pack that thing full of ice first, and then you got to put your stuff in there. So there really wasn't that much space to start with. And then you look at the price of them, and they were like $300 or $400.
Yeah, they're probably cheaper now. Maybe
there's different.
I don't know.
There's cheaper brands out there.
Sure,
but
at the time, Yeti was it.
That was kind of your selection at that point. And so, I started doing some research and came across the ARB freezer fridge, and did some research on that. And I was like, wow, for the weight, for the price, and the fact that you don't have to put ice in it. Oh man, look at all the food that we could carry.
Right.
And so after some back and forth on that, it was a painful purchase though, because it was
what, $800?
It was like $800 or $900 at the time.
Yeah.
And
it was like our first big purchase after wheels and tires
Yeah.
and the roof rack.
And the suspension. And it was like, oh man.
Like, are we really this committed to it?
Yeah. Yeah. And so we bought it skeptically.
Mm-hmm.
And after the first trip, we were like, if this thing cost
$1,000+
$1,000, we would have bought it
anyway.
This was a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because then, you know, we could pack everything we wanted to.
Yeah.
And it was guaranteed. I'm using air quotes.
Sure.
To stay cold.
Right. And so we ran that thing for, what, about 2.5, 3 years? Actually, yeah, at least that.
Yeah, because we didn't get our Snowmaster until right before Alaska.
That's right. Not until we left for Alaska. So if you want to fast forward to that piece of equipment, we ran the ARB for a while, but after, what, a year and a half, 2 years, it started freezing stuff at the bottom.
And stuff at the top was lukewarm.
And spoiling
or room temp
stuff that was up on top. And it just wasn't transferring its cooling factor. And we did the calibration. There's different steps and stuff that you can go through. And
maybe I overpacked.
Well, it come to find out, that particular one only had a cooling plate on the bottom. So if you packed it full of food on Friday afternoon, what would happen is, because the food was literally insulating that bottom plate from the top, you would get that differential in temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was working for Turtleback. If you fast forward, I was working for Turtleback, and we get to play with a lot of different fridges, Dometic, Snowmaster, National Luna, and the ARBs as well. Mm-hmm. And there was one thing about those Snowmasters, like whatever we put in them, no matter how packed full they were or how little was in it, it was the same temperature, top to bottom.
The cheese on the top was still just as cold as the meat on the bottom.
Yeah, and I think the biggest contributing factor was, number one, it had cooling plates in the walls as well as the bottom, and then it had more insulation as well.
Yeah.
So it used a little bit more power, but I was okay with that because our food was the right temperature for a change.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you know, like these other brands conserve a lot more power, but you're just not using it.
Yeah.
I want my food to be this temperature. Use the power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't save me on power and spoil my food.
Because who wants food poisoning while camping?
Not me at
Not
all.
me either.
Yeah. Well, at least you would have a privacy tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I forgot about that. That was a good point to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how long did we stay like that? So we started in 2014. And when did you go to your first Expo West?
2015. That was the Snowmageddon, Snowverland Expo.
Right. And what did you see there?
So, if you've never been to Overland Expo, don't do what I did. I signed up for the whole experience package and literally just loaded up my schedule from daylight till dark, it seemed like, with classes. And
well, at the time though, that was a expensive commitment to a hobby.
I think it was, I want to say that my ticket for that full experience was around $600 or something like that.
Oh, for real?
If I remember right.
I didn't think it was that much. I thought at least like $250.
Maybe it wasn't that much. Maybe it was around $500. Either way, it was not a cheap price, but I wanted to get the training.
Right.
So I was going to get bang for buck. So I signed up for every class. I just loaded up my schedule, from daylight till dark. And so I was just running from one class to the next class, And I remember, it snowed. I think it was a Saturday night. It snowed, and I was in my little dome tent, and it wasn't even the big tent that we typically use. I had a little Coleman that we'd bought years ago, and it snowed, and basically shut down a lot of the classes. So I had some free time, so I made my way up to the vendors, and I was walking through all the vendor sections and stuff, and I walked through this trailer display, and I'm looking at the way the trailer is built and stuff, and I literally stopped in my tracks, and I was just blown away by the quality. And I know this is going to come across like some kind of sponsored ad, and I apologize for that. But this was literally, it stopped me in my tracks. My background is in construction, and a lot of that is nuclear construction. So like super, super high quality standards. And I recognize quality craftsmanship when I see it. And, I have training to inspect welds and things like that. My background's in electrical. And so there were all these components that I stumbled across in this booth, and I'm going, this is, this is far above and beyond anything anyone's building right now. What is going on here? And it was the Turtleback Trailers booth. And so at the time I talked to Dave, who was the creator and the owner, and discussed the trailers and stuff. And then I found out what they cost, and I was like, oh, forget that.
Sarah's never going to go for
Forget
that.
that. That's too stinking expensive.
No way you're getting permission on that one.
And being me, I was like, well, I'm going to go home and I'm going to build it. I'm just going to build my own.
Right.
And so, I went back and started adding up what it would cost to build my own trailer, and then, the engineering that goes into it and the time to build it in my garage. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to spend
a garage that we did not have at the time.
Yeah. So I'm going to spend 6 or 8 months building this trailer and, hope that everything works together, or I could buy that.
Right.
And it was about that time that they started offering financing. And so what was initially like a huge chunk of change that I would never be able to pull out of my pocket, it was like, oh, I can do it for this much a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there was probably almost a full year where we dreamed and talked and discussed and researched and shopped. And
because I wasn't convinced that we were that into it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's just something that we're going to do 4 or 5 times a year with our friends.
Well, and the thing is because it was such a hassle to pack all the gear and hope that you remembered it all.
Yeah.
And we were fairly organized. We had some totes and stuff. But the problem was that some of that stuff had to go to the kitchen, and some of that stuff had to go to the garage. And so there was this constant pack and repack.
We were living in the camper in 2015.
Yeah.
We don't have a garage. You keep mentioning a garage. We do not have a garage.
All I'm saying, we had a house at the time.
No. We moved into the camper in 2015.
Wow, we've been living in a camper that long.
Yeah.
You're right.
So when you keep mentioning garage, there is no garage, people. We lived in a fifth wheel camper. So this stuff was like in the belly storage.
You're right.
Or that was it.
That was it. That's all we had.
That's all we had. We didn't have our Connex yet.
Yeah, so we were living in a camper.
Yeah.
And so there was this pack and repack and all this stuff that was going back and forth to make sure we could go on a trip.
Right.
And we would spend 4 to 6 hours
just packing.
That between that and groceries and water and all those things.
And I couldn't pack the 4Runner necessarily. I could do my part, but like I wasn't putting stuff on the roof rack and tying it down.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had a 2-year-old.
Yeah. So going camping at that stage of our lives was a lot of hassle. It was a lot of stress.
It was a little more labor intensive. Yeah.
And so we didn't go as often.
Right.
Because, you come to Friday, you would show up and you'd be like,
we'll just leave Saturday morning. Well, then that's only one night.
Yeah. Then we'd just stay home. So the idea was that, this is an expensive investment, but if we had it, would we go more often? Mm-hmm. And if we go more often, then we start to break over and justify the expense. And so the beauty of the trailer would be everything you need lives in that trailer.
Right.
And so we worked our way through this whole conversation and the finances, and once we got our financing approval and all that kind of stuff, we pulled the trigger on it. And let me tell you, that was life-changing. I would say that we probably went 3 times more often.
Oh yeah.
At
least.
We
were almost gone every weekend.
At least. Because we could literally say, Friday morning, hey, why don't we get out of town this weekend? Let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
And then you would go to the grocery store.
Yep.
While I was at work. And I'd come home, I'd hitch up the trailer, you'd already have the groceries in the ARB at that point.
Yeah, because we didn't leave it in the 4Runner yet.
Right. And so we would just hitch up and go.
Yeah.
It was so easy.
We could show up in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah. So having a trailer was definitely a pivot point for us. as far as how often we got out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a plethora. There was all those components that we talked about, those pieces that we were improving and improving and improving. Once we went to the trailer, so many of those things came with it. So we had a 6-gallon water heater. We had
42
gallons of fresh water on board. We had a kitchen that slid out.
Mm-hmm.
And
storage.
And we could be cooking in 30 seconds.
Yes. And then we had a tent that was off the ground, so which actually meant you slept.
Yeah, because that was one thing that we didn't mention about the ground tent was in New Mexico, a lot of the places that we camp are open range.
Yeah.
And so it was not uncommon to have a herd of cattle
just walk through your
just
campsite.
come through camp in the middle of the night. And if you've ever been around cattle, sometimes they get a little frisky. The bulls get fighting each other, or the cows get fighting each other. And I was imagining these cows coming through camp, plowing through our tent, you know,
Sure.
And you've got your family and stuff, not to mention, you know, bears were becoming more and more prevalent up in the mountains and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely didn't sleep much at all when we would go on those trips. And then when we finally got the rooftop tent, well, we were up off the ground and a better level of security. I was finally sleeping and enjoying camp at that point.
Right.
Or enjoying it more, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And the thing for me that won me over the most was the kitchen. I loved that everything was just already there.
If that trailer had nothing except a kitchen in it, it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
The kitchen is what makes it.
Well, and because like when you pack a kitchen not by itself, what am I trying to say? There are so many tiny pieces to a kitchen.
Right.
That it was just obnoxious. Having a dry food bin, having your utensil bin, having your sinks and hot water heater and other essentials in another bin.
Well, you would spend an hour unpacking kitchen,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the biggest thing, one of the biggest things to unpack besides the tent.
Right. Yeah. And literally you could walk up, I'd have the tent deployed in 5 minutes, and you'd be cooking dinner by
Yeah.
the time I was done.
Yeah.
And so it became this, not only was it more convenient, not only was everything already in the tent or in the trailer, but everything about it was now faster. So what that meant is
we could get there in the dark, eat dinner, and get to bed.
Right. And then you could get up the next morning and go to another location,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to getting up and going, I really don't want to pack up for an hour and a half to travel a few hours and then spend another hour and a half, 2 hours unpacking and do the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, because originally our plan was that we were going to base camp with this bad boy.
Right.
Remember?
Uh-huh.
And then we realized how easy it was to pick a whole new place every single day.
Exactly. And you can go either way with it. You know, if your location has a lot of trails, like up in Colorado, you could go and set up the trailer and hit a bunch of trails.
Yeah, loop it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was the other advantage, where we could have built out the 4Runner and had a rooftop tent and all that kind of stuff on the 4Runner.
But then you'd have to pack it up still.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Then you're in a similar situation where you got to pack it all down. Now, there is one piece of trailer life that is probably not what most people want to deal with, and that is the fact that you have another axle traveling behind you.
Sure.
If you didn't grow up pulling trailers,
That would be a huge adjustment.
it would be a big, big adjustment. Now, I'm in a position where trailers were just a part of life, you know, growing up on a farm and stuff like that. I love pulling trailers. Like there's just an added challenge to driving around that I find enjoyable. And so when we started...
Yeah, you're weird.
But when we started going and doing more and more technical trails in it and stuff, I loved it.
Yeah.
And the most rewarding thing about it was, and I'll never forget, when we drove up to Goose Lake in North New Mexico.
Yeah.
We top the hill and we pull into the little parking area there, and everyone turns and looks at us. And this one guy goes, "You brought a trailer up here?" We're like, yeah, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of places that we have taken our turtleback, both the old one, the 2016 and the 2018 that we have now,
Mm-hmm.
that probably shouldn't have taken it. But
we did.
But it made it, and
Yeah.
it did incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a piece of that that's really fun, because we don't do a lot of crazy technical trails. We're not rock crawlers.
Right.
But there are some trails that are mild and would get boring, honestly, if you didn't have something to make it a little more interesting. And so the trailer kind of gave me that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest, like, there's a bit of this piece of me that's like, it's like the Oregon Trail. Like, we're pulling our Conestoga wagon across the prairie with all of our provisions.
Way to age yourself, man.
And we get there, and we got a shower, and we've got a rooftop tent. And then if we want to, we can disconnect and go get crazy with the 4Runner somewhere else.
Right.
And then the 4Runner, because all that stuff is in the trailer, the 4Runner isn't overloaded. It's fully capable, not overweight, and you can just take that thing and push it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So there's advantages. You're going to come to this point in your kit selection to where you're either going to build out your rig or you're going to buy a trailer. Everyone comes to that point.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
really do. I mean, there's a fork in the road at some point, and you're going to have to make that choice.
Especially for families.
Right. I will say there have been times where I wish I didn't have a trailer. There have been many, many more times where I was glad I had a trailer because of all the conveniences that it brings and the comfort that it brings to my family.
Yeah.
And so therefore they are more willing to be there, and they're more comfortable, and they're happier.
Right.
That might not be you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
And that's fine.
That's totally okay.
Yeah.
This is just our story, our journey, our experiences. You don't have to take the same path.
No. And I enjoy watching people who don't have a trailer, like our Get Lost Overland family friends. They don't trailer, and they have 2 kids, and they usually go with 2 dogs.
I know.
Or at least one.
Yeah.
And they just have their rig outfitted.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see how they've made certain things work and how they pack things and what they take and don't take, or what they live with and live without.
Yep.
They're a classic example of weekend warriors for sure.
Absolutely. Everything's a trade-off.
Right.
Everything is a trade-off. So if you go with a single vehicle, focus on weight. Focus on having items that perform dual purposes. Focus on quality items that
will stand the test of time, basically.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is there's a value factor of cubic space something takes up, and what it can give you.
Sure.
And also what it costs. So there's kind of this formula that you have to work out. Does this product fit in the space that it needs to go in? Does it perform the task, and is it worth the value that I'm going to pay for it? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself, much more so when it's a single vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
With a trailer, you can be a bit excessive, let's be honest.
Depending on how many people you're packing in it.
Right. But
for us, we have the option to be excessive because it's only the 3 of us.
Absolutely. And I would say that after our Alaska trip, there was probably 200 or 300 pounds worth of stuff that we could probably work our way through and either upgrade to lighter weight versions of, or totally ditch and be in a much better place. Personally, though, I'm to the point now where I would enjoy building out a single vehicle. Like, I feel like that's like a new challenge that I want to go down.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling you there on that one too.
And we sort of did that with the 4Runner.
But we never really went out and experienced that, though. We
never fully committed to it, honestly.
Right.
But that's still something that I want to eventually do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do you stay with the trailer?
Why do I stay with a trailer?
Mm-hmm. Because after doing Alaska,
right,
and really realizing what I can live without, I think I could be comfortable without it.
Right.
So, I think. So, with that being said, why do you stay with the trailer?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, because the first thing that crosses my mind is when we traveled with Jessica and Jorge with Live, Work, Wonder. And we would pull into camp, and I'd get out, and I've been happy-go-lucky about this process for many years. And I'm out there and it's raining and I'm undoing the tent cover and I'm just doing my thing. But literally, Jessica and Jorge would pull in next to us, throw a couple rocks out, level up their vehicle, and pop the top. And they were done.
Yeah.
And I'd be out there going,
still pulling
wow.
the rubber cover off the tent.
Yeah, so I'm pulling the cover off and all this kind of stuff. And to be fair, again, we go back to trade-offs.
Right.
They don't have a very big kitchen area. They don't have a big sleeping area. I mean, we have a larger than king-size bed. Like, there are things that trade off, but you look over and they've got their diesel heater just running, and she's in there cooking dinner, and
he's working already.
I'm still setting the tent up. And it's funny how to watch that evolution, because if I was setting up next to someone setting up a domed tent, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I have a rooftop tent because mine sets up in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. But now I'm next to this Maltec truck from Germany with his pop top, and they're setting up in 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Just and so it's all relative at that point, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, there's a bit of jealousy. I'm not gonna lie, but also that vehicle is heavier per axle than what we have set up. So that's a dedicated vehicle for overland travel and living out of, and it cost about $100,000, $125,000 new. Mm-hmm. You look at the 4Runner, you look at the trailer, you start adding up what that cost with all the mods and stuff that's in there, and it's not a huge difference between the two at the end of the day. But the thing is that if you needed to sell that 4Runner, you could sell that 4Runner. Mm-hmm. If you needed to sell that trailer, you could sell that trailer. To sell a dedicated overland rig is a little bit more difficult.
Well, and you're never going to get back what you put in.
You got to have the right buyer. And so there's that piece of it. There's that level of security in the back of your mind of like, these components are easier to liquidate if I needed to. And so I'm kind of working through your question of,
okay, I was about to say, are you going to get to the point?
Right. Why do I still run a trailer?
Right.
And then there's the other piece of, if you wanted to shuck all of this living weight, you just disconnect. Mm-hmm. And now you got your 4Runner with its recovery gear and its tools and your people and your food, and you go. So that's the trade-off at that point. You can be a big heavy rig lumbering down a trail, or you can jettison that stuff and go out and have a more lightweight, probably more efficient vehicle on the trail at that point. Mm-hmm. So that's not a real solid answer.
No.
There's not a gotcha, statement to say, oh yeah, this is why a trailer.
That's what I'm asking.
What are you asking?
I asked, why are you staying with the trailer?
I just told you.
But I guess I was looking for like in a nutshell, like at this point in time, why are you staying with the trailer? So that you can have the option of being lightweight anytime you want to ditch it.
That's what I was just okay. saying. Yeah.
Sorry, it was a lot. It was a lot to get to that point, and so I was trying to process like what exactly was he saying. So that's all. Yeah.
So in a nutshell, the reason why I think for us as a family, a trailer is such a good fit is, again, it's loaded. Like if you said right now, hey Kevin, let's go, I could go out there and hitch up the 4Runner, and
we could be gone.
We could be gone within less than an hour if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Being as like most people who overland have a job, they're going on the weekends, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So they don't want to carry around all this extra weight. They're not going to carry all their clothes. They're not going to carry all their food. They're not going to carry all their water in their rig full time.
Right.
On the off chance of, oh yeah, let's go. No, they're going to pull that stuff out. So there's,
especially if it's their daily driver as well.
Right. So there's a few steps that have to happen to get them out the door. Mm-hmm. But for us, we literally just back the vehicle up, hitch it, and go. Mm-hmm. And conversely, if they were out in the field, they're taking all that weight with them. So if they come to this epic camp spot or whatever, and they deploy everything, they've got an awning, they've got, you know, a rooftop tent, and they've got their kitchen pulled out, and they've got their chairs pulled out. All this stuff is just kind of spread out everywhere. If we were camping with them and we said, hey, there's this awesome trail just right up the road, you know, it's a half a day loop, let's go and hit it. We could be ready to go in 60 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be ready to go for 20 or 30 minutes while they pack everything away.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off. Now, I will say, and that's my reason. Like, for us, that's why I stick with the trailer for right now. Not saying it'll always be that way.
Right. Definitely.
But for us, it's what fits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other disadvantage to the trailer is there are places you can't go with it. We've gone a lot of crazy places with ours, but if there are some very technical trails out there that you enjoy, a trailer is probably not going to be in your purview.
Right.
It's probably not going to fit what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were on a trail and it dead ended, or there was a tree down, you're going to put more effort into turning that whole setup around
right.
than you are a single rig.
Mm-hmm.
Some trailers are easier than others to turn around.
True.
What you do, well, like with our turtleback, you can jackknife it 95 degrees, basically.
Right. It's pretty.
So you make a hard left, and then when you run out of space, you back into it, and you purposefully jackknife it. And if the trail has got enough shoulder to it, you can actually turn it around. If not, no big deal. You disconnect the trailer, you turn your vehicle around, you grab the tongue of the trailer, and you spin it around, because the whole thing, fully loaded, weighs anywhere from 2,700 to 3,100 pounds, depending on how we load ours out.
Yeah.
But the tongue weight is about 125 pounds. Now, if you open the tailgate and cantilever some of that weight, it's even less.
Yeah.
So one person, I mean, I'm 6'3", 200 pounds. I don't work out. I wouldn't consider myself a strong man, but I can spin that trailer around.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got in that situation, you could always do that.
Right.
That's the pros and the cons.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, eventually I'll outfit a single vehicle, and I won't divulge any more details than that. There may be one in the works, but I won't go any deeper than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We got to keep them coming back for more.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So anyhow, that's the evolution of our kit.
Yeah.
You know, once we went to that turtleback and we had 42 gallons of water, 6-gallon water heater, we had a shower, we had a kitchen, we had batteries with an inverter so we could run my laptop. You know, we had it was a 2,000 watt inverter, so I'm running my laptop, like, and then loads of storage, too much storage. No. I mean, like, more storage than you need. Well, there we go again with that word, need.
Not if you're full timing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it was perfect for a 3-person, 4-person family.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure. And it was life-changing for us.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah.
Literally life-changing. We would not be here talking to you today doing this podcast because it's just fun. And we want to give you more in-depth discussion about where we came from and the little stories and stuff that go with it. We wouldn't be doing that right now if it wasn't for owning a turtleback.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Because it made things so easy that we got out there more often. And then we
ended up making it our home. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So crazy.
Hashtag not sponsored, but my gosh, people. It's been fun.
So fun.
It's been awesome.
It has.
And, you know, also, I will tag on to the end of that. I was so impressed with it. I went to work for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that product so much. I left my good paying project management job over here, field engineering and all that kind of stuff. I left that for almost a third of the pay, and absolutely love it. And worked 3 times as many hours.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it because
You learned a lot too, huh?
Well, it was such a unique product, such a unique experience to go there and to be a part of that team and to put into play a lot of the processes and things that I'd learned as a project manager and stuff in the nuclear construction field. And so that was probably one of the highlights of what we've done in this whole process. But yeah, and then to be involved in the upgrades, to be there at that point and say, oh my gosh, like here's some things that we learned while we were, spending all this time out there in this trailer. Let's do this, and this. Mm-hmm. And then to actually be able to see those modifications and those improvements be applied to this trailer while you're working there, and then to build it up and move into it.
Yeah. Move into it, I think was
it was the icing on the cake.
Right.
To
give it the ultimate test.
Well, to have taken this 2016 model that we originally bought, and to, we kept this list of if we could improve this, we would do this, and if we could add this, we'd do that, and we could do this, and then to not just send them an email and go, hey guys, you should probably do this in your next one, but to actually go to work for Turtleback and say, here's my list. And now that I'm here, let's make these improvements. Mm-hmm. And to see 80% of those things get implemented into the 2018 orange trailer that we now own and that we lived out of for a year that's a life experience that just doesn't happen.
Right.
That's so cool.
Right. For sure.
That is so cool.
Definitely unique.
So maybe that's a piece of the answer to why I want to keep living in the trailers, because there's some of my own blood, sweat, and tears and design that went into what we have.
Yeah.
So I do take a bit of
pride in that.
Pride and ownership in that trailer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I'm biased. I'll say it. I'm biased.
That's okay.
But if someone offered me a different trailer and $50,000, any trailer on the market plus $50,000, I wouldn't trade. I would not trade.
All right.
There, I said it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's nothing else out there that does what that trailer does.
Right. I would agree with that.
Feature wise and functionality wise.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, that got deep. We got real deep right there. What do you think? Wrap this up?
Mm-hmm. Put a little bow on it.
This has been fun. This is different.
Yeah.
This is definitely very gear centric. We won't always be this deep in the weeds of the gear, but I think it was important.
I think it's a very big question that we get is why do you do a trailer and not just outfit your rig?
Sure. But I will bookend this and say again, don't get overwhelmed with the gear. Don't feel like you have to have a $40,000 trailer. Don't go down that road. It's awesome to aspire to that and plan for that and save for that. But build your kit at your own speed, at your own budget, and just get out there and have fun, guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the main thing is to put those products in your kit that keeps your family comfortable, keeps your family safe, keeps your family warm, and go out there and explore.
Yeah. I mean, it's super easy to look at us when we start in 2014.
Right.
This has been a 5-year evolution.
Right.
We have not done all of this in 1 year.
No.
So I know it's easy to look at us and be like, oh, we want to be like you guys and get outside and do the things that you do. Well, you should have seen us at the very beginning.
Sure.
We looked like the Beverly Hillbillies, but we had a great time doing it.
We had just as much fun then as we
do now. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. The only difference is we go more often now and we're more comfortable.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. Mm-hmm. So don't feel like you have to have it all figured out.
Right.
Just, focus on safety and then add those pieces that keep you comfortable as you go along. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, that is the story of our overland kit evolution. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more stories that fall into all those pieces and parts, but that gets you up to speed with why we are running what we're running.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I've got for the night. How about yourself?
Yeah, I feel like we've covered a lot of it and some.
Pretty well covered that. So, all right, guys. Well, our campfire is burning really low at this point, and I'm just about out of wood. So,
Mama's yawned a few times.
yeah. So the rooftop tent's calling our name at this point. I think it's time we douse this thing and get on to bed.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, this second podcast, this whole experience, this whole experiment of us learning to tell a bit of a deeper story. So
a little more in-depth.
A little more intimate, a little more in-depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you guys are doing great wherever you are in the world. We will catch you on the next one. Until then, safe travels.